G'day everyone and welcome back. In this video my friend and myself will be focusing on finding the burial site of Elinor McGee and her infant, buried somewhere here on the banks of the Parramatta River. Her gravesite holds historical significance as she was one of the first Europeans to be set to rest in Australia. My friend will now read what is on this plaque.
Here lieth the body of the much lamented Elinor McGee and her beloved infant Ian McGee, who were unfortunately drowned in returning from Sydney January 1793. The unhappy offspring of an affectionate father was 2 years old and its mother in 32nd year of her age. Forbear, kind husband, weep no more, 'tis was vain who folks complain. A most loved wife and babe are laid, who bound from Sydney sunk below the wave, reaching the home beyond the narrow grave. Thither the hapless husband oft shall roam, to drop the willing tear upon the tomb, and strive to deprecate their closing breath. The history of the hallowed site. On the 30th of March 1791, Charles Williams, alias Christopher McGee, was granted was granted land on the south side of the Parramatta River. The area was 30 acres. He had arrived in the First Fleet as a convict, having already served some years of his sentence. His sentence completed, he was granted the land to become a farmer. Other freed convicts were awarded land at the same time. His farm is described in 1791 by Captain Watkin Tench. He was no less than 8 acres in cultivation, 5.5 in maize, 1 in wheat and 1.5 in tobacco. ... I asked by what means he had been able to accomplish so much. He answered, by industry and having all the convicts I could get to work in their leisure hours, besides some little assistance which the governor had occasionally thrown in. His greatest impediment is want of fresh water, being obliged to fetch all he uses more than half a mile. He sunk a well and found fresh water, but it was brackish and not fit to drink. If this man continues in habits of industry and sobriety, I think him sure of succeeding. Judge Advocate Collins said of him, this man had formerly been remarkable for propriety of conduct, but after he became a settler, gave himself up to idleness and dissipation. On the 18th of January 1793, his wife Elinor and child, together with another woman named Green, were drowned near Breakfast Point on the Parramatta River. Collins describes the incident. Among the occurrences of the month was the untimely of 2 women and a child. These unfortunate people had been drinking with others at Sydney and were proceeding to Parramatta in a boat with Williams McGee, the husband of the woman. When the boat upset and the man alone was saved, although he had snatched his infant from the wretched mother's grasp before she finally sank and brought it to shore. But for want of immediate medical aid, it was soon past the troubles in which a lengthened date would probably have seen it involved, for its parents had been noted for their depravity. They had been fighting and rioting with each other the moment before they got into the boat. The bodies of these two unfortunate women were found a few days afterwards, when the wretched, unfeeling husband buried his wife and child a very few feet from his own door. The profligacy of this man indeed manifested itself in a strange manner. A short time after he had thus buried his wife, he was seen sitting at this door with a bottle of rum in his hand and actually drinking one glass and pouring another on her grave until it was emptied, prefacing each libation by declaring how well she had loved it during her life. At the time of the accident in 1793, William happened to have been using the name of Chris McGee. In early records, his wife's name is always spelt Elinor. As you would gather, McGee's hut was close to this grave on the 30 acres of land. The small farming settlement of Parramatta was scarcely even a village at that time, and the 30-acre farm extended along the river from the core of settlement in what is George's Street today. The oldest grave in Australia lies in St John's Cemetery. It is of Henry Edward Dodd, with a double D, D-O-D-D, who died in January 1791. Dodd was Governor Phillip's trusty superintendent of convicts at Parramatta.
Wow.
We should have bought rum.
Here lies Henry Dodd, the personal assistant of Governor Phillip, first Australian farmer who, with 100 convicts, harvested wheat, barley and vegetables by November 1789, right here in Parramatta, then known as Rouse Hill. Henry died on the 28th of January 1791. He was the first to have a public funeral in the colony. Thank you very much for watching.